Play our introduction music, and then we'll go with it. All right, here we go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Pacific Calls. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
You better go check now. I don't know if they're still doing 40% off. You might have missed it for Black Friday, but should have been on the ball.
It's Terrible Monday, so...
Cyber Monday.
Is this a Cyber Day, too?
Yeah.
Everything's on freaking sale till Christmas.
It goes 2 weeks. It goes the week of Thanksgiving, and then it's the week after, so nothing's on sale anymore.
There won't be a fucking store to shop at in 20 years. You have to buy all your shit online is what's going to happen.
I hope so.
Fuck, not me.
I hate getting out.
Well, I don't like shopping much, but I like to buy. I like to go in and buy the shit I want and get the hell out.
So now you don't even have to do that. It just magically appears.
Nah, I don't like that shit. That's what's wrong with our country. One of the many things wrong with our country is we've lost customer service and communication, and this next generation of fuck-ups that are coming up are really going to screw it up. With us today from Mercer, Wisconsin, the town I spent a few days with in my youth, Miss Joy Kohegyi. Did I get it right?
You'll have to ask her. I think you did.
Got it right.
Hell yeah, got it right. So Mercer, Wisconsin, I got to spend, a buddy of mine had a house there that was one of Al Capone's old houses. Is on a lake across from where your parents live. Beautiful place in northern Wisconsin when it's not overran by the fibs, which is fucking Illinois bastards for people that don't know. And I got to go to the great town of Hurley, Wisconsin. That's what, about 30 minutes from you, 45 minutes?
Yeah, about 23 miles as the crow flies. Did you hit up the lower block by chance?
Did a little bit of drinking while I was there. I learned a lot of cool things. I was about 21 years old when I spent some time up there, and I spent a couple of weeks up there 2 years in a row. And they had a thing called Shake a Day, and I like to gamble, and where you rolled Yahtzee dice, and if you got all 6 the same things, you got half the money in the pot. The other, if you got 4 right, you got a free drink, and if you got 5 right, you won a T-shirt or something. But I enjoyed that part of the deal. If you watch Grumpy Old Men, that is where it could have been, in that area right there with the little neighborhood bars. Beautiful place up there. Now, Mercer or Hurley was a big time place for bootlegging alcohol and prostitution back in the day, wasn't it?
Correct, it was. And still the lower block, I believe, they've got 7 exotic dancing establishments, to be politically correct. But yeah, there's 7 strip joints. That's
in my lifetime, I've been to 10 strip clubs, maybe at the most. I've never was one to go to one. The worst one I ever went to was in the backwoods of Wisconsin somewhere. And the guy, it said topless club, blah, blah, blah. So we stopped in there to get a beer. And we walked in. I go, where are the women at? And this guy was behind the bar. He goes, hold on. And he opened his back door and he's like, Paula, get your ass out here. Some people want to see you dance. And his wife came out and she danced. And she was not a looker by any means at all. But you felt obligated to have to tip her a little bit after she left her couch and her hamburger helper to come dance for us.
That's top-notch hamburger helper right there.
It was something else. It was quite the experience for this boy from West Texas. But anyways, that's a beautiful part of the world you live in. And you were a police officer. You were a police officer there for a long time?
Yeah, so I was. So I worked for Iron County, which is the Hurley area, Mercer area. And then I jumped ship to a county to the south, and I worked there for right around 11 years and decided to exit stage left.
Yeah. That is one of the most thankless jobs in America right now. You could not pay me enough to put my name in the hat to be in law enforcement.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and it's getting worse.
Yes, yeah. Like Jeff was saying, this next generation of kids, it's going to be horrendous, to put it mildly.
They're raised as victims from out of the womb. By the time they get in school, they're a victim at everything. If they get in trouble at school, you're a victim. It's because of what color you are. It's because of who your parents are. It's always something. It doesn't matter what happens. You're always a victim. You know, nobody ever goes home and mom and dad say, you know, toughen up, Buttercup. It's none of that shit. Let's go to school and let's find out why you got in trouble for doing whatever you did instead of thinking the teachers are right. Small towns are as bad as big towns are. I was a judge here for 15 years. I retired in January 1 I retired, but I dealt with the same shitty people all the time. We had your regular, people there, just a random deal, but a lot of times it was the same people over and over and over again that you dealt with. And their kids, I was seeing their kids over and over and over and over again. And we can't hardly find a police officer in a small town. Small towns cannot afford to hire police officers anymore.
Correct.
Is the same thing happening up there too?
Yeah, definitely. You know, like you said, the kids, as I call them now, I'm going to be 40, but they're kids to me. They're not held accountable. It's even in the school system is that the parents bitch to the teachers. They bitch to law enforcement, but there's no accountability being held. And it just gets so frustrating. And you can't get good officers. I think when I applied to the county to the south of me, there was 80 applicants and there was only 3 hired. And now I think the list is like at 5. So you're like picking at the bottom of the barrel, which is not high quality law enforcement officers. So it definitely happens in small town USA for sure.
And I don't know what the answer is. I mean, because how do you pay an officer in a small town? Like, what's the revenue come from?
There is no revenue.
Grants?
No, there's no grants. There's no federal funding for officers. I just was told recently in the state of Texas that our state government is going to start funding counties for sheriffs and deputies. It's not going to help the little cities. So what's going to happen is you're going to see places like Knox and Haskell counties that are probably going to get away from having city officers and everything's going to be countywide because the county is being reimbursed by the state with some funds. But the cities cannot afford them. A town like Knox City, excuse me, we're going to start our police officer out at
1,200 people,
$36,000 to $40,000 a year. Now, the time you give him insurance and you give him retirement and stuff, it's costing the city $60,000 a year. That's not a lot of money to ask someone to put their life at the line. I mean, it's just not. But there's no income that comes out of it because you're not allowed to have what they call the quota system. You just can't tell someone they have to write tickets. Well, unfortunately, to offset his money, you need to write tickets. And your police officers need to write some tickets, a couple of speeding tickets every day. What you want them to do is write it to someone from out of town. That way you don't get a lot of people bitching in town at you all the time. And that's the reality of it that nobody wants to talk about. Am I correct on what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're 100% correct on that. You're not wrong. And that's interesting because there's a few different jurisdictions that they're city police, but they only work till 3:00. Then the county has to pick that up to avoid, the funding and stuff like that. And it's just a nightmare. Like, really, you need to be there for your people and treat them well. And that's why you see a lot of cops leaving.
Yeah. When I first got into city government, which would have been about 25 years ago, probably, we didn't have trouble hiring police officers. If you had a job open for a police officer, you probably had 30 people apply for one job. And you could find someone that wanted to move to a small town, raise their family, make a decent living. They wasn't going to get rich. There's no cops that are rich. and that's just the bottom line. It's that kind of job like firemen. And so you could find people that wanted to do that. Well, now you're going to be competing against the bigger cities because they're desperate for police officers. I think I read the other day that the city of New Orleans is 600 police officers behind right now. I don't even know how they can make up that, but that's just New Orleans. You take off, if you go to the top 30 police departments in the country, and if they're all sitting at the same thing, you're looking at 18,000 job openings right now in just 30 of the biggest cities.
Mm. And New Orleans is not the place that you need an officer deficit.
No, it's terrible. It's an absolute deal. So you're a police officer and you started I don't know what you would call it. You do a podcast, but you have a lady that's there with you and you're trying to give back to your community, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So after I got out after 15 years, it was a nightmare. I had no idea what I was doing. I left a stable job. I left insurance, blah, blah, blah. But I had met Megan shortly after leaving the force. And so Megan has cerebral palsy in both sides of her brain. And so, she's special needs. And we got together and immediately we clicked. Like, when you guys meet here, because you're going to come up to Mercer and we'll get you that house.
I want to do that.
Right on. So we immediately clicked, and different circumstances, but we decided to utilize social media to help get a message out. But I asked her, I'm like, well, buddy, we're going to need, a message to share. And she's like, hello, be kind, be nice. And just the way she said it, I was like, okay, let's run with it. So ultimately, we started out just really small and going to different establishments to promote them. And, everybody loves Megan. So it took off like wildfire. We've been on the news and the paper, so on and so forth. But what we want to do, because obviously, Jeff, you've been in our area. It's not, hoity-toity Minocqua or anything like that. There's a lot of people in need. So what we do is we raise money to give back to families in need. So we've done that. And actually today, we were able to raise enough funds to create a buddy bench. Do you guys know what a buddy bench is? No. Okay. So bullying is huge in schools, plain and simple. Mm-hmm. So this bench, we had the kiddos at the Mercer school. They painted it. We donated the bench for them. And so what it is, it's going to be outside on the playground. So if a kiddo is having a bad day, kids are, taught, if you will, like, hey, little Johnny's having a bad day. Let's go sit next to him and just be there for him to be a support, friend or something like that.
It's very nice.
So that's been super fun. And then the podcast that we created, it's more so about maybe families have a special needs person, special needs kiddo, or a community has some, and they just don't know how to interact with them. To just get real and raw about, hey, look, everybody is not perfect. Let me know somebody that is perfect. I would love to meet them.
Right.
So the podcast digs a little bit deeper of, maybe some help to let families know they're not alone. Maybe some resources, what do teachers deal with and how do they deal with some, special needs kiddos? So it's definitely pretty heavier than what we're doing now. And we also talk mental health and well-being because I'm a huge advocate for that. So it's been fun so far. And, we're just looking to get more people on and share their stories.
Yeah. Autism is through the roof right now. And you can maybe point at, a couple different things that are going on. Being better at diagnosing it, however far down the rabbit hole you want to go, all the way to vaccines causing it, whatever. But there's definitely a spike in kiddos that, they're not they're not your typical 8-year-old like you saw 30 years ago.
Right.
And for me, I have 2 boys, and so far, I mean, I think they're normal. But
boy, you're sure pushing that deal.
Right. But it would be hard for me because, the way that I was raised, and I think I'm fairly normal. But if one of them were to have special needs, it would be very hard for us because, I wouldn't know where to turn.
Right. And that's what we're hoping to do one day at a time is that, and I say this in a different manner, but it's okay to not be okay. Now, when it comes to, like you said, autism is on the rise, like big time. And I'll go down that rabbit hole, but not today. So yeah, but where do you turn to get advice if your kid maybe has other issues going on? Like, where do you turn? Because people just don't know what to do. So that's what we're hoping to end the stigma of talking more through things.
Yeah.
I had a question about cerebral palsy. I don't know much about it. And you said she has it on both sides of the brain. Do people with cerebral palsy, and this is going to sound rude, and I'm not trying to be rude, are they upstairs? Do they have it together? It's more of a muscle deal, isn't it?
From what I've been told, yes. So Megan is 30, and right now, I mean, she's a functioning person. I mean, she'll never get her driver's license. She'll more than likely live at home, but she's able to take care of herself. She is the best sports analyzer ever. She'll tell you whatever sports games are on, what was the score, the Packers, who are they playing. So she's functioning well, but, her eyesight is a little bit effective. Her hearing is, but she's a typical kid per se, because I think she's at a 4th grade reading level now, which is huge. She went from 2nd grade to 4th grade in just under 2 years.
Huh.
So it does affect, how she walks and how she talks and stuff like that. But, to me, she's my normal, but it's normal.
Yeah.
What did Stephen Hawking have? Did he have spina bifida?
I'll have to Google that one.
I mean, because he's one of the sharpest men that ever lived. That's what I was asking. I didn't know if cerebral palsy affected her mental capacity or if it was more muscular or. But you said.
I think it's a little both. I don't have all the knowledge on that one. I should have done, but.
He was diagnosed with early onset, slow progressing form of motor neuron disease.
Yeah, I have no idea what that means. But
So it doesn't say cerebral palsy.
I thought he had spina bifida is what I thought he had. But sharp man, very sharp man.
It's basically, that's what he has is Lou Gehrig's disease.
ALS then? Okay.
Yeah, also known, or
He's
Lou
dead,
Gehrig's.
isn't he? I thought he passed away a long time ago.
I think he
Yeah.
Yeah, he died in 2018.
Yeah, I thought he did. So what is y'all's goals with y'all's podcast? What are you wanting to do with are y'all starting a foundation or?
So we're not even nonprofit or C1, whatever that is. So our main goal is just to spread the message of the simple 4 words of be kind, be nice, because you never know how that is going to help somebody. And it kind of piggybacks off of, you hold the door open for an elderly person or help them with their groceries. Maybe you just made their day. And we want to give back to our communities because there is a lot of families that potentially struggle. And why not do something nice for them to then pay it for? Because this world is a shitstorm right now, right? And it has been for quite some time. So if we can just do it one step at a time by paying it forward, buying the person behind you their lunch or something like that, those are our goals. And we want to raise money to just give back to whether it's schools, different organizations, families in need, you name it. That's our goal, as well as to get the word out that it's okay to talk about things and not be embarrassed. Because I know, back in the 90s, because I'll be 40, so let's just say 90s. You would see somebody with a mental disability. And, for me, I'll just be brutally honest. I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with them? Right. Not cool. Yeah. So we just want to, those families that do come into a situation where now all of a sudden little Johnny has autism or it has Harshbarger's, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Thank you. That it's okay to talk about it. And what resources can we provide to, you guys talk about it.
Yeah. I really like the message that RFK is putting out there right now, as far as what we're seeing with the rise of autism, the rise of more mentally challenged individual. And like he said, like when he was growing up, you didn't see that. You didn't see a 50-year-old with autism. You didn't see it. I mean, this is something that's unique within the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, this is a man-made disease.
I mean, or we're just better at fighting it.
No, it's man-made. I'm 55 years old. Why in my generation do we not have any autistic kids hardly at all? And why do we have a ton of them now? It's got to be a man-made problem.
Or could it be the diet that a lot of parents have now?
Well, that's a man-made problem.
Well, okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, why I'm a fat ass. Why am I a fat ass? Because I eat bad shit. When I was a kid growing up, I wasn't a fat ass. And if you looked at my kids' baseball pictures, every kid could wear the same uniform. We all were the same. We were all built like Reese's. My oldest grandson is how every kid was built. Skinny and ate whatever the hell he wanted to do. But it's because of man-made bullshit that we've got so many fat asses in the world. You go look at a beach right now, you can't find 10 good-looking women on the beach. It's all big gals. And I'm not knocking on big gals. I'm just saying, if you would have went to that same beach in 1970s, there might be one fat chick or fat guy there. It didn't happen. And it's a man-made issue, and I think autism is a man-made issue. Has to be. Why all of a sudden in nature do we have all these autistic kids? It has to be something
Right.
we're putting in their bodies to cause this. I mean, we're fat because the food we eat is full of all kinds of preservatives. And I just now have realized this the last 2 years ago by listening to you, Andy, and listening to other people. But when we went to Canada, even Canada doesn't have all the fattening shit we have to eat.
Right.
You look at a Little Debbie snack in Canada, in the back of the box, there's 3 ingredients, and here there's 500. And you can't pronounce 498 of them.
Right. No, I definitely agree to that. It's, what's in the vaccinations, what's in the, red dye when you have Jello, what's in all this stuff. Because growing up, it was just, you're a hyper motherfucker, like calm down. But now it's just like, oh, okay, it's ADHD, it's they're autistic, they're this or that. I'm not taking away from any person that's dealing with this, but I agree with you, Jeff, that it's not just like, you're paralyzed from an injury or you're born with a different condition. Like 2, 3, 4-year-olds are now all of a sudden on the spectrum, and for what?
Yeah.
It's all the shit. It's my youngest grandson, or my middle grandson. Now we have a new one. Andy's youngest son broke his arm yesterday, or a Thanksgiving Day. Fell off some monkey bars. It's a big deal. He broke his arm, but it's not a big deal because he's a normal boy, and that's what boys do. Everybody wants to inject their kids with shit to make them settle down. Boys need to be hyper. That's part of being a kid. And especially little boys got a lot of testosterone. Let them run around and be boys. We're taking all that away from our kids.
And I was almost a curmudgeon that day. He was playing on the monkey bars. I was almost a curmudgeon and said, "Hey, get off of the monkey bars," whatever. And my wife kind of felt the same way. But then we were like, you know what? He's gone across it 3 times. Like, just let him be a boy. Turns out the 4th time broke his arm. So
He'll have a good story to tell when he gets older.
he will.
But kids today don't
Got that bent bone now.
That's right. When I was a kid growing up, every fucking kid I went to school with either had stitches or a broke bone by the time he was in 3rd grade. Right. Kids today are going to have a sprained thumb from playing fucking video games all day long. That's all they're getting.
Or they'll have a pulled nail from their TikTok video. Yeah. I don't know.
I never went to school with a kid that put on any kind of fucking sunscreen. Ever. In my life, did I grow up with anybody that put on sunscreen? Matter of fact, the girls I went to school with in junior high started putting fucking Crisco oil on themselves so they could tan more. You go to deal now. My daughter-in-law, Andy's wife, I love her to death. I said daughter-in-law, so daughter. I usually call her my daughter. Anyways, them kids get slapped with so much freaking SPF shit before they get in the sun. They're never going to get acclimated to the sun.
He's blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, like, he's got fair skin. I don't know what you want.
He needs to get a little crispy red and it'll turn to tan. He'll be good every summer.
I don't want to hear him bitching.
Well,
that's the main part of it. Is I don't want to hear him bitch.
Well, he will do that.
Yeah, then it'd be my fault.
It's because y'all let him bitch. Mm. So you're be kind, be nice. This is a good thing to say because we got Christmas coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those of us that are blessed, and I don't mean blessed with having Elon Musk money. I'm talking enough money that you don't have to worry about everything and you live a pretty decent life. I always, every year, and this is on my wife because my wife has got a gold heart. I have a black heart. She has a gold heart. She's really big on helping people and doing nice things. Every year she adopts a family or 2. We don't adopt a family that's usually on any Christmas tree that's at a church or the bank or church. We try to find a single mom or a parent's mom and dad both that struggle, that both work, that don't get any kind of government assistance. And that's the kind of people that we try to adopt. Every year we do that. Because the people that are out there reaching for help, and there's some of them that deserve it and need it, they're getting every situation they can get is getting covered. That lady that works hard, that goes to work every day, that has struggles to put shoes on her kids, that's the family I like to help. And I would wish everyone listening to this podcast, and we have thousands and thousands of people listening to this every day, find a family in need that you know by you. You don't have to buy them a ton of stuff, but just make sure a kid has Christmas. It's the most magical time of year. And so try to give back, and that's what I wanted this podcast to be about, is what you do to help people. Because as a police officer, you saw a lot of really shitty situations with kids.
Yep.
Is that the hardest part of the job? I mean, obviously there's a lot of hard parts, but is that one of them?
That was, yeah, like when it comes to kids, because I dealt with a lot of sensitive crime cases before I left. But yeah, when the kids are affected, like I know when I used to work night shift, I would snap a gear at these parents, and it usually was during Christmas time. And mom or dad would get white girl wasted, and the kids had to witness this horrific domestic, and I would lose my shit because I don't care what you do behind closed doors, don't let that affect the kids. And they're too busy spending the money that they should be buying Christmas gifts for the kids on booze or meth or heroin or whatever the case is. They didn't give a shit about their kids, and that bothered me tremendously.
I told this story last week, but I recently hunted with a guy, and he's got 2 foster kids. One's 3, one's 2 months old. The 3-year-old, when CPS finally found it was in a pack and play, and the parents put a piece of plywood over the top of it so it wouldn't climb out. So that's how they found the 3-year-old. And then the 2-month-old was abandoned at the hospital because the mom had silence your phone, Jeff. The 2-month-old had meth and marijuana in its system, and the mom skipped the hospital. So, how is a kid supposed to? It's hard enough right now for everybody, but how is a kid supposed to be a productive member of society when, let's say, the mom would have kept that baby? In hindsight, this might be the best thing for the kid's future is getting left at the hospital. But how is anybody supposed to win when they're dealt a hand like that?
You were way ahead of your time, Andy, because about 10 years ago, we had a discussion when you were, how old are you right now?
36.
Okay. You were, it was probably 15 years ago. You were at Tech. So you were going to Tech. So 21 years old, 15 years ago, you told me I was talking about, I get so sick and tired of welfare things, the whole thing of welfare wears me out. And you told me one time, we were talking about abortion, and you said, I think they ought to let people abort kids. I go, why? I said, that's terrible. Why would you say that? He goes,
it's a hard thing to hear.
Do you want to pay for somebody's kids for 18 years, or if they're not going to take care of it, let them abort it? Don't cost us a thing. I thought that's kind of a really terrible way to look at things financially, but there's really a lot of truth in that because these parents don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I would see the same people in court all the time that didn't have shit, but they would pay us at court $100 to $200 every month year round because they had tickets for all kinds of shit. And I'm not talking about tickets over just, I was really good about if you got a ticket, if someone got a ticket between Halloween and Christmas, I'd ever made them start paying a fine until February usually, because I didn't want to take away from their kids' Christmases. And if they bring $10 or $20 a month in, I wouldn't. There's a ton of people I had in court that would pay $10 a month. And I would just be like, listen, if you'll bring $10 a month every month in here, don't make me chase you down over $10 because I'm not going to. But when you come back here and you hadn't paid in 18 months, then I'm going to put you in jail. But if you'll just pay $10 a month, and there ain't very many courts in the country like that, you just bring in $10 a month, and I'm good with that. But those people would rather pay $200 a month in court and not buy their kids shit. And that used to wear me out so bad, And they just, because they would always look for someone else to bail out their kids. That's why I don't like the angel trees. And it's not against the whole situation of the angel tree, but I would rather help someone out that's not asking for help all the time. Because it seems like the same people, they're like, fuck it, I ain't gonna buy my kids anything for Christmas. The church will pay for it. Mm. Yeah, that kind of crap right there. Or I can go down to the local grocery store and they're going to be giving away Christmas baskets out to the needy, and we'll do that. Yeah, because your ass ain't going to go get a fucking job and pay for and give your something to your kids. It breaks my heart to think if my grandkids didn't have a present because their parents wouldn't get off their ass and do something.
Right.
And
yeah.
With the economy the way it is right now, people are having to make a decision besides paying these overpriced electric bills and gas bills for what they, I feel sorry for someone that's having to gas up their car, and the money that they were trying to pay for Christmas, they're going to have to pay for gas to go to work every day. And that person's doing it the right way. But we're in a horrible time in our country right now, and people need to give back. If you can, give back. But people also need to learn to help themselves.
Right. Yeah. So a part of what Be Kind, Be Nice, what we've done, so Megan's mom, Mary Jo, and her dad is Todd, along with her sister, Kayla. We came up with this idea to put like big bins, if you will, local schools, grocery store, bank, credit union, retail stores around the area, to just say, hey, if you can donate some canned goods, perfect. And for the school, we did the class that raises the most canned goods gets a pizza party, which we're going to donate. And so we've got a plethora of canned food and stuff like that. And we're going to buy ham and turkey for some families in need, from the monies we raise to give back on Christmas. And we also are teaming up with the Lions Club as well as the Loon Club, which is a motorcycle group for backpacks, for Christmas gifts and stuff like that. Because like you said, Jeff, some people just suck off the system and it's ridiculous. They put themselves before their kids. And like you said, that bothers the ever living shit out of me. And it's not fair for those kids.
No, they don't ask to be raised in that bullshit. There's a lady in Wichita Falls, Dawn Thompson, and she used to a thing called, gosh damn it, it's going to wear me out. It's not School Box. I think it may be School Boxes. And what she would do is she would collect money. She'd do fundraisers and stuff, and she gave back a ton. This lady's got a heart of gold. But what they would do the school box they would give, if a teacher noticed a kid had bad breath, he wasn't brushing his teeth, he smelled like BO, or he was wearing the same clothes over and over again, she would give each elementary would have a school box or junior high in Wichita Falls, and that teacher would just go give that kid that box. And in that box, they would have toothpaste, toothbrushes, shampoos, soaps, and stuff, so that kid could take that home without embarrassing him. And then he did, and it got to be where some families would rely on that. Junior, don't take a bath for 2 or 3 days, and they'll give you on them school boxes. We need soap at the house, or whatever it was.
Right.
But it went to a good thing. She wasn't giving them money; it was things that they were using. But if she knew a kid, and she's really good about putting stuff on Facebook, she go, listen, we've got a 4-year-old little girl and an 8-year-old little girl. Their house caught on fire last night. What do you have? And people would give stuff away. But it was the same type thing, giving back a lot. And a tube of toothpaste, I don't even know what it costs, $4?
I don't know.
I don't even think that. I don't even look at a price. We need toothbrush. My teeth stink. We're going to buy some toothbrush or some Scope
I get
or
that
whatever
expensive toothpaste now because I'm fluoride free, baby.
I saw that shit when we were in Canada.
I'm fluoride free.
But
Right on.
you
See, she knows what I'm talking
but
about.
you buy that and you don't think of nothing of it. Well, there's some kid out there, his family don't have no money for toothpaste, and that's what hurts my heart. If there's a kid that needs something, they should have it. Even an adult. I mean, could you imagine being an adult and you can't afford toothbrush? I couldn't imagine not brushing my teeth every morning and every night.
Yeah, but if you were raised that way,
I would be terrible, though.
you wouldn't know any better.
I can't imagine waking up with ass mouth every night.
How many kids do you think, like worldwide, big scope here, big picture? How many kids do you, I bet a toothbrush is an anomaly.
I'll bet half the people in the world don't have a toothbrush.
I bet over half. That's what makes it an anomaly.
But if you just to make the subcontinent of Africa, that makes up about 80% of all those people.
Jeff, I didn't make the numbers. I got to fix your camera.
Oh, what's wrong with my camera? But that's
Totally taking the over on that one.
you think it's more than half? How many people do you think don't have toothbrush in the world?
More than half.
That's terrible. And
I know it is.
that's something we
what can
take
do
for
about
granted.
it? Exactly.
Another thing we take for granted, especially in America, is clean water and being able to flush your toilet.
Yep.
Because that's not something that's everywhere to have that. And I'm a guy that pees outside. I'd rather go outside and pee than pee in the damn toilet anyways.
So you beat me to it because I'm like, I've got a lot of pine trees to choose from. Like, I don't care. I'm born and raised in the Northwoods. I'm like, yeah, well, whatever. I'll pop a spot here. It's all good.
Yeah, I pee. I walk outside every morning and take a leak, check the wind for the geese, and I do it every day. If it's cold, I pee fast. If it's slow, I take them a little time doing it. If it's warm, I mean. And I'm confused at men that don't piss outside. Do you not piss outside at your house, Andy?
My youngest son does. So he gets in bed with us about 2:00 every morning, goes outside and pees before he gets in. Starting to smell a little right back there.
Your mom gets on to me at our house all the time.
We need some rain to kind of wash that stuff away. So, or he needs to migrate spots because it's getting a little odiferous back there.
Michelle, do not pee by the hot tub anymore. There's a brown circle there until it rains.
It smells like ammonia.
Pee somewhere else.
Yeah. So are officers or any first responder, is there any sort of training or programs where they emphasize mental health and kind of the mental battles that you're going to struggle with during your career?
Yes and no. So a lot of peer support groups And then we've got EAP, which is an employee assisted program. But the double-edged sword here is I talked with a friend of mine because we've got another podcast called Status Check, but he was in charge of the peer support group, but nobody from his department would go and talk because they knew administration would be like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" So he would have people from different cops from different agencies come because it's like you're supposed to be fine. Just move on to the next call. Everything's good. And I know that within some agencies around here that the peer support group is not offered. And as soon as you utilize EAP, they're like, well, you're not fit for duty, when literally you're just reaching out for help. So then they say you're not fit for duty. You got to go to a psych eval. We're going to place you on administrative leave, or you have to use family medical leave. So I know this for a fact. Many officers just stay quiet and try to deal with their inner demons, which leads to gambling, substance abuse, maybe shying out, cheating on your significant other, spouse, whatever. So it's like this cycle of shit. Is you try to reach out, and that's, two of my friends within our Status Check podcast, they were minutes away from pulling the trigger because they just didn't know, they didn't have an outlet. So it's tough. And I can't imagine with military, there's just nothing out there for them. They come back to, what's normal in our society, but there's nothing for them other than here's the VA and here's a bunch of meds to fuck your world up.
I don't think
so. I just don't know, and it frustrates me what we can do to help, short of continuing to talk about it's okay to not be okay.
Meds are not the answer. I don't know what it is, but it's.
I think it's a nice way of getting on the road to help. Long-term med use, I'm definitely against, but it could be but the problem is I don't know. It's just a fucked up situation because I think that for some people, medication could lead to the path of recovery, but I just know so many people they can't get off of those things.
First of all, if the government's given to you, it probably isn't a good thing. I mean, we're the same. This is the same government that gave the Indians whiskey to fuck them out of all their shit. And I'm not an Indian sympathizer, but I mean, when it was just, that's the way the world we fought and conquered, and that was part of it. But the government that pushes this shit for a reason. Second of all, it's all about profit because somebody's making profit off of it. Anything the government does is about profit. I drove by Air Force Base the other day, and all the houses have solar panels on top. I'll bet you if you've done some investigation, some senator or congressman's nephew or cousin owns a solar panel company, and they made a ton of money off that shit. So I don't like the medicine deal. I think it's a bad deal. And then I think it's just a scab over on something. And the bottom line is there's just some fucking crazy fucking people in this world, and we got to realize that shit. You can't fix everybody. And giving some crazy whack job some fucking meds to stay on, and then they get off the medicine for 2 days and they go shoot up a school or some shit is not the answer. We just need to lock some people up.
Right. Well, and that's a huge part of it too, Jeff. As you know, for being a judge, in today's day and age, you get a slap on the wrist, and don't even get me started on Illinois, but you can commit second-degree homicide, get booked in, and then released, and then they're back on the streets. So it's just the cycle of shit. But how do we fix this?
We'd start locking people up and make them stay in fucking jail for doing bad shit, for one thing would start. A friend of mine's a police officer in Dallas, and he told me there are certain neighborhoods in Dallas, I'm not going to name the names because I'll sound like a racist when I do it, but he said you can go down them streets right there, and he said you can pull over every third person that you see and run their check on them, and they're either wanted or they have warrants on them right now, or they've got priors that are violent shit. That's what we got walking the streets. I have no problem with someone doing their time and coming back and being part of society. But if you murder someone, you should not be back on the streets in 10 years. That's not fair not fair to the victim. It's not fair to society. Because I see all the time, I just saw in Wichita Falls there, they arrested somebody for murder. Previously had murdered someone 12 years earlier. Well, what the fuck's he doing out? Lock them up and leave them there for a little bit. I think if you shoot someone, they ought to shoot your ass. Put them to sleep the next morning.
But the jails are already overrun.
If you put a bunch of them to sleep, you wouldn't have that problem. If you're serving 50 years in jail, fucking put them to sleep. Who's going to live a life 50 years after you get out? Your family ain't going to want nothing to do with you. They're done. The new kids don't know nothing, do you? Your pawpaw that's been in prison their whole life, they don't know you. Put them to sleep. Do you have a problem with that, Andy?
50 years seems like the cutoff.
I say 30 years.
Oh, now we're getting just fuck it. 10 years, you go put them to sleep.
I'd say 30 years. If you're 25 years old and you spend for 30 years, you're going to be indoctrinated into the system, and you're going to what's the word they use when you get used to being in prison all the time? Institutionalized. And that's what they're going to be. They're going to be institutionalized. As a police officer, how many people did you deal with that had been to prison more than once?
I don't have that exact number. It was a lot.
Lots of them. High percentage of them, right?
Yep.
And how many of them told you this? Because I've heard them tell me this in court before. And I was a little town judge. I didn't do major things. I wrote some big warrants on some things, and I set some bonds on some really horrible crimes. But I didn't have to see people that were going to prison for a long time. I was a little judge in a little town. But how many times I saw people, shit, Judge, I'll be back out in 6 months or 3 months or a year, or, you can set that $100,000 bond, but I'm going to be back out in 2 months. And they were.
Yeah. That's so it's interesting you say that, because that's like the common theme around, because it was day in and day out. And I got very frustrated with the judicial system. That's okay. You got this one and this one. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Okay. I shouldn't have said that. But it's like, oh, but they know that they're going to get 1 year or 1 month in the county jail or 2 years probation. And even if they were sent to prison, it was, 18 months, 24 months. And they knew coming back out, they're like, I did my time, but I just learned so much more in prison to help me better my criminal, enterprise, if you will. It's just ridiculous.
Prison we've had a friend of ours on the podcast, a guy I went to school with, a great guy, very sharp guy. He went to prison, I think a couple of times, didn't he? For over theft, drugs, shit like that. He's a great guy, owns his own company, does well for himself, learned his lesson, has zero sympathy for criminals, and drugs, zero sympathy for it at all. And I think sometimes we need to pick our battles a little bit. I think a guy that's selling weed, and I'm not everybody that listens to this knows I'm not a doper at all by any means, but we don't need a guy in prison for 25 years that got caught selling a fucking 1 pound bag of weed. We don't need that.
Yeah. Agreed.
But
agreed 100%.
If you're in jail and you're selling 1 pound of meth, that'll lock your fucking ass up forever.
Different story.
Yep. Completely different. And there's got to be some crime. You rape some lady, you ought to be fucking have your dick cut off.
Or castrated.
Yeah. I mean, no problem at all. I got in trouble last week. I got some hate mail for this. I said last week, and I stick with it. If your ass is on welfare, your ass should be on birth control. I don't give a shit. If I'm having to pay for your kid, you shouldn't be having more kids.
Yep. And that's true. And I mean, the problem we have up north, and I don't know how it is down by you. I'm assuming it's probably worse than it is up north. But, the weed population and shit, because we've got Michigan just up north and it's legal there. Fine, do your thing, whatever. I don't really care about it because it helps people, especially older people with ailments, blah, 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 blah. But we are having, fentanyl-laced Adderall popping up, heroin-laced, or fentanyl-laced heroin, fentanyl-laced meth, like all this shit, and it's killing people, but nothing happens to them.
The city of Wichita Falls had 2 cases where someone sold someone some pills that had fentanyl and it killed 2 people, and they put them up on murder charges, I believe. I don't think it was manslaughter. I think it was murder, and that's what they should do. They should do that shit. If you get caught with any bit of fentanyl at all, they had to lock your ass up forever.
Right. Yeah. So we have what we call in Wisconsin, and I'm sure it could be nationwide, but Len bias cases where, like, right now, Andy, if you give me heroin that's laced with fentanyl and I die, now you're responsible. So it's ultimately murder charges, but they're Len bias cases. But they don't touch them because all I hear is these are tough cases. I'm like, it's pretty cut and dry. He gave him that. He died. So
yeah.
I don't need to be a judge for that
if you went to McDonald's and they served you a hamburger patty and you died from it, let's say you got salmonella and died, or some weird fucking meat bacteria disease or some shit, McDonald's is responsible for you dying in a court of law, at least. You give someone fentanyl, in a lot of places they don't do shit, and they should do stuff. Now, if you're a doper and you're taking fucking anything that could have fentanyl in it and you take shit you're buying off the street, you're a fucking idiot.
True story.
I mean, fuck, you don't know what you're getting. I had an argument with a guy up here the other day about pot. He goes, well, yeah, but my weed, you hear about weed dealers now getting fentanyl laced on some weed.
Do you?
Yeah. If you're buying weed, at least buy shit from a dispensary because it's probably at least going to be. This was a guy that lived in a state that had dispensaries.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't buy it off the street.
Yeah, that's me. You're taking a chance there.
Yeah. Theo Vaughn, he said that's why he quit cocaine because it's got fentanyl in it. Can't even do that anymore.
I don't know who Theo Vaughn is.
Oh, well, he's kind of funny. He did an interview with Tucker Carlson. Kind of funny.
Seems like a nice
Seems
guy.
like a nice enough guy.
Yeah, I don't know him. But anyways, he quit coke because he's worried about fentanyl.
Yeah, man. You know, the fuck, they put stuff in it. Like a long time ago, I guess they used to put baby laxative in it.
So he didn't learn from Len Bice.
That wasn't that bad of a deal if it was, a little bit laxative. Right. But playing with your life.
Yeah, then you're shitting your brains out.
Yeah, exactly.
You should learn from Len Bice, though.
I don't know who Len Bice is. I do not. I heard her say
was the number one draft choice in the NBA. The Boston Celtics drafted him like on a Thursday night. Thursday night, he was going to go celebrate with his buddies and snorted some cocaine, and he died.
I think I do remember hearing that.
And supposedly it was his first time to do cocaine. I have no idea. But it died and it killed him. Well, there was all kinds of fucking pro athletes taking coke back in the day. Now, I don't think coke is probably near as dangerous unless you got a bad ticker as a lot of shit you take. As someone that's never done cocaine, it's pretty easy for me to say that. I would have been a great doper. I'm telling you right now.
Dope seller?
No, yeah, because I would have been good at that because I don't do the shit. But I could see where I could have been a fucking junkie. Oh. Because if I get hurt and they give me some hydrocodone, that's the shit makes you feel good. So I could see where people get addicted to that shit. So you shouldn't take it. Like my grandson, when he broke his arm the other day, I was like, did they give him hydrocodone or anything? Nope. He just took a Tylenol. It's like, boy, I'd be milking the shit out of that if that was my broke arm.
But that's kind of the cycle. Then, now that you mention that is, you have injuries and stuff. And I went to the doctor, bad back pains and stuff like that, and slipped in ice, blah, 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 blah. They wanted to give me Valium and morphine. Whoa. And the doctor's like, well, we don't want to snowball you. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because this sounds like it's a shit show. But they prescribe all this stuff. And then when you have to go back because you're addicted, the doctors say, we're not going to prescribe you anymore because you're just pill seeking. Now, where do they go? To heroin or a different substance, or they get it off the streets and you just don't know. I don't know. It's a fucked up cycle. Sure.
I am so anti on these fucking these pain management doctors. All they do, 90% of them, I'm going to guess, of their clients probably at one time really had a fucking pain. But they get these fucking people addicted to this shit and they stick these patches on your back, these fentanyl patches. It's all a money-making deal. My mom has had issues with that. She got hurt 15 years ago, and their answer, instead of operating on you, well, let's just do pain management for a while. It ain't pain management. It's called being a fucking drug dealer is what it is. It's exactly what it is. Every bit of it is. And that's what they do. But guess what happens is they bill Blue Cross and Blue Shield for $1,500 a month for pain patches. Doctors getting back $500 fucking dollars probably off it from his patient charge. He keeps 1,000 people there a month doing the same shit. He's making $200,000-$300,000 a month profit off of other people being addicted to shit. If they could have just fixed the problem, they wouldn't have these problems.
Well, and Jeff said, like, they don't, all over when you walk in, no CBD, no THC. Absolutely zero tolerance if you're in this program.
Yeah. And they're going to kick you out. I told my mom, I said, they ain't kicking your ass out. They want to get fucking paid. They ain't going to kick you out. They just don't want you figuring out that, oh my God, I can take some CBD lotion and I don't hurt as bad or as much. And I'm not fucked up there all day long.
Right. And so, I mean, obviously coming from a former cop, Michigan's right on the border, I didn't really care if somebody had some marijuana on them. Obviously, I had to do my job. But talking with a lot of people within the community, you'd be very surprised. Like, some are very prestigious members of society. But that's what they have to use because they're so sick of being on all of these pain meds prescribed by the doctors. They just go up. And a lot of them say, I need it for sleep because I can't sleep. So they'll go up to Michigan, get their own stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you. And I will just be the first to admit this. And I don't care. But I have used THC to help my ailments. Now, is it the cure? No, but it helps me get to the cure and get to the problem. And it's not like the devil's lettuce, as people call it. It does help people when used in the appropriate manner. Now, I know, you got your typical potheads and stuff like that just use it to use it, but it's not a bad thing. And there's a reason why Wisconsin is not allowing it in legislation. They're not going to pass it because of the tavern leagues.
What is that?
Wisconsin is not passing legalizing marijuana based upon the tavern leagues because the tavern leagues support the governor. And so they feel as if they're going to get, kind of lambasted with monetary gains if it's legal in Wisconsin. Because people are not going to come to their bars and they're not going to get paid.
Okay,
gotcha. Tavern. Okay.
Like a tavern as a drinking bar.
Right. So the bars are against it because it would cut into people that are at the bars.
Allegedly.
In Texas, it's the opposite of that. In Texas, it'll never pass because of the Baptist leagues, because our churches don't want them to pass it, so it won't. That's the difference. Y'all's is all about alcohol. Ours is about the Bible, but it's the same shit either way. But it's I've never smoked anything in my entire life, from a Marlboro cigarette to I have smoked a cigar, but I never inhaled it. I did Bill Clinton.
You're not supposed to inhale a cigar.
But I've never smoked nothing in my life. Remember, I am sponsored by Hemp Hill Farms, and I take 2 gummies every night, or a gummy to 2 gummies every night. Depends on how
CBD,
time.
Jeff.
It's CBD, that's right. But I've also taken gummies that I've bought in Michigan before when we were traveling, and I highly recommend them for sleep. I highly recommend them for sleep because I used to take a Benadryl or a Tylenol PM every night. One of those, I'd wake up and I'd be sluggish. I take a gummy and I'm not knocked out. I feel good. I wake up completely, and I wake up way before my alarm does every morning. And it is a great thing, and I highly recommend it. And everybody I know that's on CBD oil and lotions, they help. And it's a natural deal. It ain't made by some Chinese guy in a damn factory. I like it.
No, that was COVID. That was made.
Yes, it was 100%. And now we've got the Chinese fucking pneumonia coming, they say.
It'll be here just in time for next November.
For an election.
Oh, jeez. Okay, do tell, because now I'm intrigued. I usually don't watch the news because it's just a bunch of shit.
They've got some Shanghai pneumonia that's floating around fucking China, of course. And I'm sure when Xing Fing Fang, or whatever the fuck his name is, came to San Francisco and met with fucking dickhead Biden and Obama, he probably brung it over here on Chinese Air Force One. But it's the new thing that's coming right in time for the election cycle, so we can make good working people stay home, and then we can flood them with stolen ballots like we do every other fucking election. And the American people are going to go back and we're going to fight amongst ourselves on whether there was election fraud or not. And it's going to be just another shit show of this whole crap. There is nobody living in our country right now today that can say their life was better than it was 5 years ago. There's no way.
100% correct.
I mean, no possible way. Financially, some people are a lot better off than they were 5 years ago. Hell, we probably are. But the life's not better. A loaf of bread didn't cost $3. We went to the grocery store the other day, and Michelle bought a grocery cart full of shit, and it was like $460. I'm like, what the fuck? Do we buy gold? I mean, what the hell's just fucking groceries? And we're not poor people. How the hell does someone that's poor, how can they afford to eat?
It's tough. It's definitely a tough
I feel
question.
sorry for them, just trying to feed your family. I mean, the staples, potatoes, beans, and rice are not cheap anymore.
Did you struggle with your mental health during your career in law enforcement?
I did.
Yeah. What did you go through? Like when in your career did you realize, like, hey, there's something going on here?
So for me, like I said, I got promoted to detective, and we see not as frequent as Chicago or New York City or Los Angeles, whatever. But you see a lot of shit, and it's just like, what the hell? But then on a fatal car crash, the next moment everything's said and done, it's like, what's for dinner? Yeah. That's just what you do. But when I got promoted detective, working sensitive crimes, mainly crimes against children, there were certain cases where there was just nothing done, and you work your ass off to get justice for the victims, and nothing goes through. Like the DA's office, the judicial system has failed, and now you're up at night. And for me, I tried to talk about it, but nobody would understand. And I was going through relationship issues with my ex-husband, so that added on to it. And so nobody just understood. And so I hit the bottle. I tried to, melt all my sorrows away by drinking way too much and struggling with family issues. My brother he was addicted to a few substances. And so I was the go-to for that. And it was like being Stretch Armstrong. I have to be there, but nobody asked me how I was doing. And I would just sit at home, didn't want to go out, just hated people in general. And, I would just sit at home and drink, and nobody understood me. Nobody asked how I was doing. And not to be self-pity party, but it took one day for me to snap out of it and realize I needed to talk to people, because I have a really good relationship with my father. And he pulled me aside one day and he said, what is going on with you? You're not the same daughter that I raised. And I was like, what do you mean, Dad? He's like, you're pretty much an asshole. I'm like, well, everybody's an asshole. This is all bullshit. He said, I don't know who the fuck you are, so you better fix yourself and do something about it. And I was like, yeah, it hit home real hard. So I had two options. One, stay in a job I was miserable, and I was miserable myself, or to make a decision to better my life. And that's when my boss called me on, it was a Wednesday, June 9th, I believe. And he said, are you coming back to work? Because I had to take a few sick days. And I said, no, I quit.
Just like that.
Just like that.
That was it. What did was your ex-husband also a cop?
No.
See, so that's a tricky thing too, because nobody will understand outside of that job what you're going through. So, to a husband that, is not seeing that stuff, did he even see any warning signs?
No, I didn't. He was dealing with a lot of stuff. He wouldn't talk a lot about it. And, even prior to me, our relationship ending, I could see that we were just roommates, but he dealt with a lot and he never talked about his work. So he was a school administrator and, he hated talking about work. And I remember one night we were on our way to dinner and I get a phone call. There was a situation. It was ultimately a gentleman had passed away under kind of suspicious circumstances. So I said, turn around, I got to go. So then I get back home and I'm like, hey, so are we going back out for dinner? And he was like, what is wrong with you? What? Let's go to dinner.
One thing I really liked about Live PD when it was on, and I think it's back on, but it would show the wide variety of shit that a cop has to go through on a day-to-day basis. He might have a rape call 1 minute and then he's running traffic the next minute, and it's just all kind of 12 hours of nothing but the worst of humanity that he's seeing on a day-to-day basis. And then he's got to go home to his wife and kids and, hug them at the door and give his wife a kiss on the head.
I thought that was a great show.
But it just showed it's an impossible job to do.
Right. Yeah, because 1 minute you're dealing with a fatal, the next minute, you could be, especially summertime, is dealing with a kiddo that fell in the lake and now you're doing CPR on him. And then the next minute you're trying to help out Grandma Susie because she fell on the floor. It's a combination of a lot of things, but sometimes those in law enforcement get sick of seeing the worst of society.
Yeah.
And
that's
and the babysitting that police officers do. The stupid shit that people call that has, you got a call with some guy beating up his wife in front of two little girls, and you got to go make that call. But then on the way there, you get a call that you got something else you go to, and it's two fuckers arguing over who dropped a Budweiser can on the fence or some shit like that. And there's so many calls like that. And it's the same freaking people. It's funny, the people that want to defund the police are the people that need the police all the time. Your good neighborhoods, you take a really, really, really good neighborhood, and I'm going to use Highland Park in Texas. This is the rich area in Dallas. You can jog there. You can walk down the street. You probably don't have to lock your doors. They don't need a police officer very often. Somebody on a block. You go to the shitty neighborhood where they want to defund the police, and there's cops on the block every freaking day doing calls. Same shit over and over and over again. And I'm like this. You want to defund the police in some neighborhoods? Set aside a little neighborhood with no police, and you see how long it lasts. It'd be terrible.
Yeah. What?
Well, look at Oregon.
Or perfect. Now I heard that the people. Well, what's crazy is they're going to go ahead this cocaine and heroin. I think you can any drug there's legal now, isn't it? Or have they decriminalized it?
Yeah, they decriminalized it for personal use. So instead of being a felony, I believe it's just a misdemeanor or a county ordinance or city ordinance violation. Which
I just can't imagine meth is okay to have. I mean, it's just so fucked up, and then they wonder why they don't have no problems. And those people are leaving. I'd like to know what the population around those centers have. But what happens is those neighborhoods, the prices go down so bad, people can't afford to sell to go nowhere else. They're stuck there.
Yeah, I mean, look at even California, well, California, if you will. No offense to those living there, but they have all these Narcan areas where you can go do drugs, and here's your free Narcan in case you overdose. Like, what is society coming to? I don't know.
I think Austin has a bunch of those, just a bunch of Narcan little things that you just go over and pull it, and
first of all,
away you go.
Austin, Texas, for the people that live other places, is not part of fucking Texas. Austin, Texas is if Los Angeles and San Francisco had anal sex and they had a kid, it would be Austin, Texas, because that's what Austin, Texas is. And that's the nicest thing I can say about Austin, Texas, other than it's a beautiful city that's turned to shit.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Oh God.
So what did you start? What steps did you take to kind of right the ship with your mental health, or was it just something as simple as not going to that job anymore?
That was the start of it. That was, but it was hard. Like I said, I literally was just like, well, I know I have sick leave and I have all this stuff. I'm done. June 25th, and then I went out to Colorado and just didn't smoke dope or anything like that, but just decompress because we couldn't take vacations because everybody was short-staffed, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing that really triggered me to seek out to friends is like, I don't go to therapists because an hour of them even, not even knowing who I am, you're going to tell me what I need to do? No. So I passed a fatal crash scene, and I didn't know what a panic attack was, but I had one, and it scared the shit out of me. So now, fast forward for my brother's recovery, he's been sober 7 years, and I knew I could call him because he's dealt with a lot of traumatic situations. So I'm calling him, and I'm crying, and I don't know why I'm crying, and all these emotions started to literally vomit out of my body, and so he's walking me through it. So I was like, okay. And we talked. He had me over at his house, and he's just like, well, what's going on? So I knew that it was okay to talk about things. Now, maybe he doesn't understand, but he helped me through things. Like, it's okay to talk about traumatic events, because I didn't have that at the department when I left. Like, they just were like, suck it up, Sally, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. So the way it helped me was to surround myself with positive people. They're not going to know everything I went through, but they're going to be there to maybe guide me to some maybe resources. I've learned, this is going to sound weird, but reading pretty awesome books that I have, meditating, and just kind of getting the woosah out, to just release it. And I'm part of a cop group called the 10-7 Project. And I know that anytime I'm having an issue, one phone call, and there are a bunch of cops that have seen more shit than I have, more than likely. So it's just, I guess I've learned it's okay to just talk about shit situations that are now starting to come to light.
Yeah. I wish, and I've never been in law enforcement, but I wish that every first responder, I don't care, fire department, paramedic, cop, whatever, I wish that I wish every one of them had a free gym membership, or a free place to do boxing or kickboxing or jiu-jitsu, or just something to kind of, work out all of that shit, get physically active, and just something to take your mind off of whatever's going on for an hour a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Just something to get out of your way, because it's just, you work all day. You don't want to go fucking work out or, get your ass kicked on the jujitsu mat or get punched in the face, but it's good. It's good for you.
Yeah. So I'm blessed because where my house is at, I'm on 5 acres, but it butts up against my dad's 180 acres. And so I don't have kids, but I have dogs. So once a day, it's like, boom, throw on some earbuds, jam out to some music, go for a run. Or wintertime, we're starting to get snow here, go snowboarding, go do a bunch of things to take your mind off of it. Because I lacked that over the last 17 years. I just was married to the job.
Yeah. Yeah. What, did you, were you recruited for your job as a detective, or was this something that you kind of saw yourself doing as a career, like being in the sensitive crimes division?
Yeah, I saw that as my path, and I knew that there were 2 openings coming up, so I applied for the promotion, and there was only 2 of us that put in, so it was kind of, well, you're going to get one position. Yeah. But I guess I didn't realize, when working patrol, you work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then you leave everything. That's it. But detective work, it takes a lot, drafting subpoenas, search warrants, and planning ahead and doing all this stuff. So it wasn't what I expected, and I kind of got railroaded based upon what I wanted to do because administration said, absolutely not. You're not doing that. So I was like, okay, sounds cool. I'll just sit in my office and pretend like I'm doing work.
Yeah. Does the paperwork, like, what's it like whenever you're a detective versus running traffic? Is the paperwork just astronomical?
Yeah, it is. So you definitely have to prioritize your caseload, but the paperwork with interviews, you have to be very spot on because a defense attorney is just going to rip through that. So the paperwork was huge. And depending on search warrants and subpoenas and stuff like that, getting the returns to the judge and adding it into evidence. And it was definitely a lot more work than I'd thought. But running traffic and stuff, you just write the citation, boom, you're done. But if you respond to domestic, you do up the report, hit send, it goes to the DA's office and you're done.
Right. It's just crazy that. You want people to have a fair and what do they call it? Trial.
Impartial.
Yeah, but it's big business. It's big money to get people off. You know what I mean?
It's the rich man's deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what's always funny. They always talk about it being white privilege or this or that. It's called rich privilege. O.J. Simpson got off because he had rich privilege. He could afford good attorneys and dumbass.
It's not even that. It's just if a cop misses one little bitty step or if they don't play everything exactly right, the case just gets thrown out. Correct. It's like it doesn't take away from the fact that this person's guilty as shit. It's, the cop didn't follow protocol here. So the whole thing is just kaput.
Now, I'm very, very pro-police. Very pro-police. But there are times when an officer makes a mistake, and there's times in the lifetime where we've seen people get railroaded on cases. It's happened. One bad cop, there can be 100,000 good cops, and one bad cop is all you hear about. Well, yeah. And it's a bullshit type deal. But that's why those laws are there. But the criminals have now figured out a way to use that against them. You misspell something on a damn search warrant, they can throw it out. Well, that don't have nothing to do with the person that Jeffrey Dahmer had 7 chopped up people in a fucking freezer. Just because you misspelled his name shouldn't overdo that.
Yeah, and that's the nitpicky shit that they go after.
All the time.
And it's...
but like, how do we, I don't know. I don't know how we reverse course on a lot of these things. That's the part that's frustrating to me is I don't know how to fix any of this. You know what I mean?
The world's not getting any better at all.
But there's got to be a way to fix it.
Well, I don't know what it would be. First thing would be to get rid of fucking cell phones.
Oh.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest problems we have with law enforcement.
What do you mean?
Well,
everybody pulling out their phone?
All the fucking time over shit that instead of helping people. Instead of watching some poor fucker get his ass whooped, put your phone down and go pull them guys off of him. Or a woman getting hit in a parking lot and the men stand around foaming. What kind of vagina do you have, buddy? Fucking zip that son bitch up and go help that lady.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And then they send it to the media, and you know what the media does? They put out the clips that benefited them. They don't show the entirety of it. Now it looks like, this is what happened, and look what the cops did. They're piss pounding somebody, but they didn't show up leading up to it where a guy pulled a gun.
Yeah.
What's the story with Derek Chauvin? Did he live?
Last I heard, he was still alive.
You know, he got stabbed. Did you know that? The Minneapolis cop?
Oh, yeah, he got stabbed in prison.
Yes.
Yeah, the last I heard this morning was he was still alive.
Why was he in general population?
Great question.
You know, and that's all a setup deal. Now, he's a dumbass. I don't give a shit what happens. There's no reason for him to sit on that guy's neck the way it is. He didn't kill George Floyd. George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose. Autopsy reports show that. But for some reason, it don't fucking matter. Now, you know, the same FBI couldn't fucking find anything on Ted Kennedy when he drowned a girl. I mean, it's such a two-sided coin on all this shit all the time. But that cop should not have been in general population.
Correct.
And the guy probably should be out of prison anyways. He was what he did was wrong, but he did not deserve to go to prison for what he did, I don't think. Especially not for a long time. But he did not kill that guy. That guy died from fentanyl overdose.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know how they could. I mean, that's a death sentence. If you put that guy in general population, like you're sentencing him to death.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
And I mean, they might not have got the job done this first time, but there will be more.
Yeah, they're going to kill him in there. That's all there is to it. And you know, George Floyd was a pretty worthless piece of shit.
Yeah,
and that's probably the nicest thing I can say about him. He's a worthless, no good, wasted oxygen. But his family got like $25 million for his worthless ass. That's what's amazing is the money that these people make when they're pieces of shit. Just blows me away. And people just give it away to them. Like it's going to make things go away. And it don't.
You know, one thing you need to start trying. I'm doing this now. Cold showers in the morning. Sucks balls. Hate it. Hate every minute of it. But it starts my day off right. I feel good afterwards.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
I don't even understand how this becomes part of the conversation just out of the way.
Mental health. I'm mentally sharp when I get out of there.
From a cold shower makes you mentally strong.
Sharp as a whip.
Well, the fucking
first thing in the morning.
The Eskimos ought to be whipping our ass at everything then, because they take a fucking cold bath every day. They take one.
Well, they try to heat theirs up a little bit. They're not as tough as me when it comes to cold.
Have you ever done a sauna like a?
No, but I've heard it's tough.
You get in the hot sauna, you deal it, and you go jump in a cold lake, and you get back in. But it makes you feel great.
It's amazing.
So there's a cold shower without the hot steam.
A lot of people do both. But look up the health benefits. There's tons of health benefits and neural benefits to the cold shower. Everybody's doing it now. It's very popular.
Come up to northern Wisconsin and we'll go jump in the lake because it's cold as fuck.
That's a little bit beyond what I'm willing to do.
How far is the Turtle Flambeau flowage from you?
6 miles as the crow flies, just a little bit north.
We canoed there one time, and we was down a drainage ditch or anything. And next thing I know, I am carrying a canoe across some people's yard and have to go put it up by the road so we can pull a truck around to pick it up. People, super nice people, invite us in for a Bloody Mary.
That is nice people.
They're just having their afternoon Bloody Mary. They said they have them every evening. Old man and woman. He's like, Stella, make these boys a Bloody Mary. You boys sit down here and have a Bloody Mary. It's like, we use your phone to call for help. I'll take you. We'll put it in the truck. Just have your Bloody Mary with us.
Okay.
He's like, if you
can't pass a good
He's
time.
like, if y'all come by here again tomorrow, stop by again. Yeah, we're just going to get down the wrong drainage ditch tomorrow in a canoe, and we'll stop here and have a Bloody Mary. I think he wanted us to. He really enjoyed the conversation.
It's just him and his wife.
Yep.
He's ready to see some new faces.
Really nice old couple. You live in a beautiful place in America. Are you a big Green Bay Packer fan?
I am.
You think Jordan loves the answer?
He's the start of the answer. I don't think Aaron Rodgers was the answer after the last 2 years because his attitude was just horse shit. But he's a great quarterback, too. I mean, it took him 5 snaps.
4.
Do you think that if Green Bay would have done a better job of providing him some help on offense, he would have stayed there? They didn't help him at all the last couple of years.
I don't know about that.
You think they helped him?
I've got, you look at some of the offenses he's played with, his line was always above average. He had Devontae Adams. Now, I'm not saying that they use these guys to the best of their capabilities, but
he was a lot better when he had Jordy Nelson to go with him.
Yep.
and a young Randall Cobb. They didn't do nothing to add nobody for him at all till the very, very end.
I don't know. That's for
Andy's turning on Aaron Rodgers. You big Aaron Rodgers guy. I'm kind of surprised by
I'm
this.
not turning on
Yeah,
Aaron
you are,
Rodgers.
too.
I'm just calling a spade a spade. Very impartial.
Jordan Love the other day did not look that bad. Some games he's looked absolutely terrible, and some games he's not looked that bad at.
Oh, Thanksgiving game, he looked. I mean, they looked as a team. They looked very, very connected, and did the job to beat the Lions.
They beat the Lions'
but
ass.
let's see what happens next. Yeah.
I think Green Bay's another one of those franchises that there's not really a big future for them unless they get some changes going. I don't know what it is, but there's just some teams. It don't matter what happens. They're so far away from being a contender for a Super Bowl, not being a decent football team. But Green Bay they don't have. Jordan Love is young. They get them young receivers not bad, but they don't have their defense is really good. When they're healthy, Green Bay's got a really good defense. But offensively, man, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, I don't think are nothing dynamic. I think their defense is the best part of their football team right now. And I think they need to start over offensively, and I don't know what the answer is.
New coach.
I don't know either.
So y'all are
Matt LaFleur.
Get out of here. Offense is too hard.
I don't think he's a very good coach.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there's no place like Green Bay, Wisconsin to go to a football game or to be in that atmosphere. It's like being at a high school game. I mean, it reminded me of Texas high school football at a huge, huge, huge level because we were up there. We were in Door County in the fall of October, and they're like, oh, let's go talk to Mike. And they went in the locker room, and it reminded me of Texas high school football talking to the high school coach about what we're going to be doing and stuff. It was just such a small town. It was a cool atmosphere. And I don't know why anybody that's not a free agent player in the NFL, especially that's on his second or third contract, 30 years old, why he would not want to go to Green Bay and play football and be his family there. Be such a good place to raise your family compared to most things in the NFL.
Yep.
I agree. Well, listen, you are doing the Lord's work here with some of your new projects. A lot of people are struggling, and to have people like you and Megan out there to make a difference in the world, especially with kiddos, that takes a special person.
Yep.
So you're doing a lot of great work, and we're proud to have you on this podcast, and hopefully this will help spread your message, and just be kind.
And be
nice. Don't be a dick.
Right.
That's all you got to do. How can people, like if they want to help you with your cause, how can people get a hold of you?
So we've got Be Kind, Be Nice on our socials, so Facebook and Instagram. Otherwise, our website is Megan.com. You can go there. We've got some merchandise, some swag and stuff, and proceeds from that, again, goes back to the community. We're planning on Christmas dinners and stuff, and then come closer to May, we're going to give 3 scholarships to high school students that show Be Kind, Be Nice throughout the year and stuff like that. So if they want to hit us up, joynmegan.com. Otherwise, Be Kind, Be Nice on Facebook.
Very good.
And then Twitter or something. Or
X.
no, TikTok.
TikTok.
I'm not a TikToker.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, we appreciate you being on here. What you're doing is a great thing to do. Everybody out there, if you're listening to this, find someone to help. If you've got the means to help someone, I don't care if you buy a turkey and a ham for someone. If they got a little kid, buy them a gift. It don't have to be expensive. Go to Dollar General and buy them something, 10 or 20 bucks, but make sure all the little kids got something under their tree for Christmas. You know, same with the homeless people being cold. If you got an old jacket or something, you got jackets in your closet you don't ever wear, you're never going to wear them again, give them to a homeless person, you know. Just help them out a little bit. You can't imagine going to bed cold, you know, when you could give them a coat. If they're going to be a homeless, at least give them a coat or something if you got it. And we all have extra coveralls or coats or something we can help somebody with. So that'd be a nice thing to do for the holidays.
Or give them a bus ticket.
To where?
Somewhere not cold.
If you vote Republican, send them a ticket to Austin, Texas. They need all the help they can get.
There you go.
If you vote Democrat, send them some bitches to California.
Thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you for having me on. Sorry I was a little bit late, but you guys are the best, and my stomach hurts from laughing so hard.
I'm glad you had a good time. Go Badgers, right? Best volleyball team in the country.
Damn straight. And you know what? I'm going to take a little trip out to Austin and let you guys know.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Oof.
Be carrying.
Yeah. Take a gun with you.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. if you're taking them back to Wisconsin, if y'all are going to vote fucking blue again, take about 50 of them back there with you, okay?
Can I borrow a bus?
Yeah,
We'll give you one.
Okay, sounds good. All right, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Andy. Jeff, thank you so much. And seriously, if you guys come up to the Northwoods, or Jeff, you need some help with that, the place that you stayed at, I no longer am in law enforcement, but I am in real estate, so I have quite a few connections too.
I want that house. I want to rent that house for a week or 2 weeks for my family. If I could get that same house where I went to, it was an awesome place. But if you'll send me something that we may, northern Wisconsin's a place we haven't been. That might be our next. We do a summer vacation with my family, anyways. I think we're going to go to upstate Maine this year, but we may go to Wisconsin also. So please let me know.
Okay, yeah. And my dad, like, he's like the mayor of Mercer, but he's really not. He knows a shit ton of people, not making him sound like a big dude, but so he knows a lot of people. So I will reach out to him to see who he can contact. And I'll get you hooked up.
I appreciate it very much. You have a great Christmas, my friend. If you need anything, please let us know.
See ya.
All right, sounds good, guys.
You.
Thank you so much. Merry
Christmas.
We'll talk to you. All right.
Good day today. You got to hunt with Blake. Was that enjoyable?
I did.
Uncle Steve will be here this evening, so we'll see Steve. All right. Thank y'all for listening to us. We appreciate y'all. Please, please, please try to find out and reach out to help somebody at Christmas time. God bless you and have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you. Bye.
Check out all of our wonderful sponsors. It is Christmas time, and we've got a lot of great people. Check out MLR Graphics, Boss Shot Shells, Dive Bomb Industries, Dirty Duck Coffee, Pacific Calls, Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Shin Gear, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Hemp Hill Farm, Stanfield Outfitters, and Ducks Unlimited. Into the Vault's going on right now.